Peace family, Will Roundtree here. We'll give everybody a few minutes before we get started. Of course, today is Friday. I don't even know what day of the month it is, like January 11th. This month is flying.
It is.
2019. Man, before you know it, it's going to be summertime. But we out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Told you guys I was going to have a very special guest. Before we hop into who our guest is that's sitting here with us, a couple housekeeping rules. For anybody who is looking to get set up for easy funding, we do have a promo going on right now. But first, let me shout out Mr. Will Roundtree page, Jay Morrison Academy fan page. Make sure you're liking and sharing with each other. Go and like the JMA page, go and like the Mr. Will Roundtree. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go and subscribe at Mr. Will Roundtree. Last week was only one of the very few FICO Fridays we didn't get to put up, but nevertheless we are here today. So this FICO Friday will be up on YouTube. Make sure you're sharing, commenting, and also subscribing to YouTube. So we're gonna spend most of this FICO Fridays with our special guest today. We're gonna open it up for some Q&A about 30 minutes after the hour. But I'm extremely excited, extremely humbled. Excited is more so excited because I've seen this queen. I've seen my sis. This is my sister, my friend, family friend, one of my wife's best friends, and she was also a client. I'm not gonna steal her thunder. I'll let her explain who she is. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring her on, because for one, she is the first and one and only black-owned lash and microblading salon on the Las Vegas Strip.
Yes, sir.
How does that feel, first of all?
It feels good. It's a lot of pressure. I gotta mark my territory, but I mean, it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So we definitely gonna get into that, but also too, just sharing, because one of the things with this FICO Friday that I want to talk about is that how a lot of times I get people that come up to me and asking or saying, hey, I want to open a business. I don't have any money, and not really understanding that. You don't have to have a ton of money in the bank. For those, and I share my story all the time. I opened up a franchise, a tax franchise, which you were my client at that time when I had my tax franchise as well. And it failed miserably. Used all my own capital, and lost it all. And I didn't have a backup plan because I was banking that the business was going to make it. Ran out of money during the process, got sued civilly, all that good stuff. But one of the things when I was going through my rebounding stage, as I call it, of just learning more about business, is that most wealthy businesses learn how to leverage their credit. And that's one of the valuable lessons that I'm always trying to stress with people. And not even just for the sake of being able to open a business, but what do you do when you need to get that building, which we're actually in her establishment, and your credit is bad? And then they make you put down 5 times the deposit, or you got to find a co-signer, or whatever the case is. So there's so many different reasons why just having your credit in position is extremely important. And like I always share that, your credit is the lifeline to your business. So, before we go any further, if you can introduce yourself, who you are, what type of business you have, where you're from, all that good stuff.
So I am Yalanda Baldon. I own Face Pop Brow and Lash Bar on Las Vegas Boulevard. I'm from Boston.
Where's that accent?
Well, okay. It's a long story behind that. I was actually born in Houston, me and my sister, but moved to the East Coast, and we've been out here for about 12, 13 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so just out here, just establishing ourselves and
Absolutely.
Just being great. That's it.
Absolutely. So tell them about the business.
So the business, we have a microblade. We're doing microblading, it's permanent makeup and lashes. We'll be actually employing about 4 to 5 girls. So I'm really excited about that, just to build a really dope team of passionate artists. I have a vision. This is our baby. I'm super excited about what I'm going to bring, especially being a black-owned business on the Las Vegas Strip. I feel like I have a lot to uphold to, so I'm really excited to bring you guys something super awesome this summer.
All right. So for those who may not know what microblading and all of that is, that's way above my head of what that is. So exactly what is that?
I try to explain it to men, you guys will understand it. But it's basically like you just take it's a manual tool that we use to cut. We actually put pigment in your skin, and it mimics actual eyebrow. It looks like hair. Okay. And it heals like hair. It's kind of similar to tattooing, basically.
Okay. Yeah. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of why everybody is here. So you come to me back a few years, 5, 6, somewhere around there years ago, and you were like, Will, can you help me with my credit?
Yes.
So for those who may not know, where did you start? Did you grow up in a household where you were taught about credit or anything like that?
No. So actually, you know, I'm going to be very honest in saying we had bad credit before we were like 3 years old, okay? I don't know if you guys know, but
phone bill?
Yeah, you have your parents. I mean, because you're not raised to know about credit.
Absolutely.
To me, it's just free money. Like when I remember being in high school and, you know, right before we were going to graduate, they have all the people out there trying to get you credit cards. You don't know what it is, it's just a credit card. And I messed my credit up at about 17 years old.
Okay.
When I got my first apartment, I bought like a $10,000 bedroom set. To me, it was like free money, and I didn't know how much it was going to affect me these years of my life, especially having a daughter. I wasn't even planning for it then. So, you know, when I moved up to Vegas, I had broke up with my child's father, and I started over. Like I moved back with my mom, and I was just like, where do I go now? And I couldn't even get a car. And when I actually was able to get a car, I was in a place of desperation.
Correct.
So they gave me a really high interest rate. I think it was like 25 or something. So I'm paying for like a old Nissan Altima, you know, and I'm paying what I pay now for a brand new 2018 car.
Correct.
So I was desperate, and you know, all that stuff I didn't learn that growing up, and now I'm able to teach my daughter 15. Like, baby, you know, I'm gonna put you on a credit card, I'm gonna build your credit. I could put her in a position that I wasn't allowed, well, not allowed, I wasn't taught.
Correct.
You know, how important it was.
So having to go through all of that at such a young age of not being disciplined or educated properly about credit, how did that affect you as an adult?
Well, you know what, it was really difficult. When I first moved out here, I was a single mom. It was hard for me to get an apartment. It was hard for me, like I said, to get a car. That's when I realized, and actually when I had met Paul, and he was kind of like, you know what, like you need to get this in order, because it was really just it affects your relationships, you know what I mean, just everything that you have going on. So just knowing that I had to start from the very bottom, I had to file bankruptcy, just going through that whole process and learning that it's not a bad thing to do bankruptcy, you know, like sometimes you just gotta start over and start fresh.
Right.
And all those years that I had bad credit, I could have done that earlier.
Right.
But, you know, when he was passionate about it, he was talking to me about it, that was when I was like, you know what, I gotta take control of this.
Right. So remember, last week I had the top 11 reasons why you want to have good credit. Yalanda just said it affected her relationship by not having good credit. So understand, it's so much more than just having credit to be able to buy a car or a house. It affects households. And because there's such a huge economic gap in our community, you know, I always tell people that credit can level the playing field. Not even just from a business or a livelihood standpoint, but on a relationship standpoint. You get two people that are not equally yoked just in dealing with credit and finances, that could potentially be a detriment to a relationship. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you guys decide to get together and get into an apartment, I mean, as simple as that can stop you, because it's like, well, you're not getting approved, and I am.
And it's a surprise.
Yeah.
You don't know what the person's credit looked like, and you're filling out the application.
Getting
so
furniture, everything. Yeah.
Let's rewind. You talked about bankruptcy. And I know one of the things, especially in our community, bankruptcy is almost like a bad word, you know, because of the lack of education we've been taught about bankruptcy. And I always just share with people that bankruptcy is just asset protection, whereas you're saying being able to kind of reset and restart. So what was just kind of your mindset for one, having to file bankruptcy, and then what were you thinking after you went through the process? Did you feel like, man, how do I overcome this? Like, where were you at mentally?
Well, I assumed after I did the bankruptcy that I'll have to wait 7 years to start reestablishing my credit, which is not true. It was just everything that was affecting me with me being, when I started looking at what my goals are, okay, I want to buy some property or I want to open a business, well, how am I going to get there? I can't get there with a 500 credit score, so what do I have to do? So that's when we started having those conversations, and I started looking for a bankruptcy lawyer, and the process was actually super easy.
Right.
Actually, a little too easy. It's kind of scary.
Right.
But I mean, and with that, it's just time. It's just really strategically, saying, okay, after this bankruptcy, now what credit cards can I go apply for? Not to use and abuse, but just to have it to help raise my score. And those are the things I just start slowly building it back up. So. Okay.
So did you? So going through the bankruptcy, you're out of bankruptcy. You saw that it wasn't true about the 7 to 10 years. Obviously, that's how you and I connected. Mm-hmm. We were connected through the paths of my wife and you were good friends and all of that. And once we started dialoguing about what your scenario was, I was like, man, we do this all day. Mm-hmm. And so one thing that I appreciated about working with you at the time is that you were extremely coachable. See, a lot of times we work with clients, even though they come to us as the experts, they know too much. And what I mean by saying they know too much is they want to tell you what they think is right. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, well, your mindset is probably why you're here now. So let us show you the proper way and guide you through that process and scenario. So,
you know what I think it is? I think a lot of people have false perceptions. Like, I trusted you.
Right.
So I trust you with all my business, with everything. And I think a lot of people are out there, they have this false notion that people are out to get their information, or you know what I mean. I think that's why I was like, I trusted everything with my credit with you. Yeah. But sorry. Go ahead.
No, because that is important. Because a part of business is you do business with people who you know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is also important in understanding that in business you have to be likable. Some people's businesses might not thrive because don't nobody like them, or they have a personality that clashes with people. So, I think that's definitely important. So fast forward past the bankruptcy, we go through credit repair. Then, we started educating you and, myself and my partner, Paul, just educating you more about, what your goals and dreams were. And I know this was something you had been talking about doing for a long time. So what was just the mindset or how did you just mature mentally as an entrepreneur in understanding that this is what I want to do and then taking that leap of faith?
Well, I'm a person, I'm driven off of passion. So, I mean, I have a full-time job. I'm an engineer full-time, but I lost my drive because previously, I was doing like boot camps and stuff, and that was my drive. That was my push. So, me working a 9 to 5, I'm like, I'm not happy. Right. I'm getting older. This is not what makes me get up and go every morning. And something that I loved and we started going to school for was the microblading and just beauty. And I was like, you know what, like more when I was going to school, I was up early, playing my music, going to school, and I was like, this makes me happy. This makes me get up and go. And I think that's what made me start, putting myself mentally in a position to say, okay, how am I going to transition from my 9 to 5 into being an entrepreneur?
Correct.
And this is all new for me.
Right.
But
so now you're here. You got the business, got your own building on the Las Vegas Strip. Was it an easy process?
Okay. So the process, thanks to you guys, the process of getting the property, super easy. Just me having the credit, like I said, when you're not from coming from a point of desperation, you call the shots. Mm. I mean, they can see my whole credit. No, I don't have no late payments. Right. I don't have, I'm very on point with my credit, so they literally looked at my credit, they looked at what I had in the bank, they're like, okay, no problem.
Right.
It was actually scary. I was like, okay, I thought it was going to be like blood tests and all that, but no, it's super easy. Right. Yeah, but that's easy. It's just actually everything else. Right. Just, with opening the business, that's stressful.
Right, so now, before we get to the finished product, let's talk about the financing. Because I think that's one of the biggest, or one of the misconceptions that people have, thinking you got to have all this money. But having good credit, how has being able to leverage your credit been so instrumental in helping you get to where you are and being able to get your building and purchase supplies and all those things?
That was one thing. One thing that I had a serious issue with that I hear you talk about is not using your own money. I always think, let me use my own money. I don't want to have debt, and you don't have to. Like, you literally can open a business strictly off your business funding, and then you're even some of your personal credit. So to your point, I'm sorry what your question was, but just being able to do that, it made everything a whole lot easier to where my credit is not affected by me having my business.
Right.
Because of what you guys told me about how to go establish business funding through different agencies or banks.
And that's the thing that I'm always sharing with people, is that it's about having strategy. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I'm hearing from you, is that not only that you have the information, but the strategy that we also were able to assist you with. Mm-hmm. And then with that being said, just from a standpoint of also knowing, even if you did have your actual own cash, did you have any surprises? Meaning, like, okay, if I would have set aside $10,000 or $20,000, were there things that you may not have budgeted for, to where if you did use your own capital, it could have put you in a scenario? Because I always tell people, when you only using cash, eventually you will run out of money, because like Murphy's Law, anything that can go bad will go bad. And so were there things that were kind of like a surprise that you didn't really plan for, but because you had access to, as I call, unlimited capital, i.e. by leveraging your credit, it was able to make that scenario a little bit smoother for you?
I couldn't even imagine how people open businesses with their own money. I have not panicked yet, because I was set up with my credit and my business credit to where I'm not panicking.
What were some of those potential surprises?
For instance, I need 2 business licenses to run both lashes and microblading. Okay. So just that alone, okay, you have to pay for your business license. That might be $400 each. Right. Per station. I had to, in order for me to pass inspection, I have to have sinks. So I need a sink put in out here, downstairs. I need 2 sinks upstairs. Plumbing, permits, everything is required that I did not know about, but I'm learning each day, either talking to somebody who owns a business, and I need to put in up to fire code, and my life is just so much that the money is just like, whoa. But I mean, I'm ready for it.
Right, but it's a good learning experience as well. And that's really the thing that I really wanted people to kind of get out of this interview. And of course, being able to promote your shop. But understanding that, for one, business is simple, but it's not easy. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that it's easy to go and open a business, or it's simple. Anybody can go down, get a business license, you got decent credit, get a building and whatnot. But it's those little things, like you say, that you may not necessarily have planned for. I even think back when I did my tax office, I put the money up for the building, the rehab, all of that. But there were certain things that I didn't plan for. I didn't plan for payroll. Mm-hmm. I had to pay my staff during the time when they were going through training, and the first couple of weeks during the tax season when it was slowing. These are things you don't necessarily think about, and there's no per se manual on how to run a business in the particular industry of lashes and microblading. There's no manual that comes with any business that you own. A lot of it is based off of experience, having people that have been able to assist you, like you say, within a community who already own businesses and whatnot. So what would you say would be some of the things that you've learned along the way that's been beneficial, even just from a financial standpoint with running a business?
As much as I want to say just prepare, you really just, if you've never been down the road before, you really just can't prepare for it.
Right.
I think your biggest resources are your friends, your family, your mentors. Definitely everything that you guys done so much to help me get in the position where I think new business owners may be struggling. So luckily I haven't had to struggle with finance, but just reach out to people who's been down the road and don't be afraid to ask those questions. You definitely need to do that.
Now, was it scary at first, going into the uncharted territories of dealing with credit and starting a business? How was that process like?
The credit wasn't scary when I didn't have a goal. Just me being able.
Say that again. No, because I think that's so important. When you don't have a goal, yeah, you scared to looking at it as, oh my gosh, it's debt. But no, it's about, like you say, having a plan. So yeah, if you say that line again, we might have to make a shirt out of that.
If you do not have a plan, for real, it's real. If you don't have a plan, I mean, you're not scared. But if you're not scared, if you're not out of your comfort zone, you're not growing. So, you know, when I actually got my credit in a position to open a business and I went and signed that lease, I went home like, oh my God, like I have a 3-year lease. I need to make money now. Right. You know what I mean? And now I gotta go. That's just it. And I'm scared and I'm out of my comfort zone, but I'm moving.
Right.
Every day I'm like, what can I do? What can I do to help me be successful?
Right.
You know, so definitely get out of your comfort zone and, you know, it's been a process.
Right, but I think that's the best part of being an entrepreneur is that when you kind of have that feeling like, oh man, I gotta go out here and make it happen, I think that's when we do our best work. Because now you're forced to go out and be great. You know, one of the things that we talked about in one of the other lives with my brother King Beyond Win is that a lot of times when we're comfortable, we don't do nothing. You know, and I always say the definition of easy means it's also easy not to do. And because, you know, we are living this cushy life sometimes, it's easy for us not to want to sacrifice and, you know, go and start your own business. It's easy for us not to want to sacrifice because we're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks from this other company. But then I always say, you know, what do you do once the paycheck stops? Then how do you survive if you haven't created a plan B or a plan for you to be able to still have a stream of income? Because the thing, you know, and just me sharing what I know about your business here is that, you know, you're going to have other, you know, technicians in here. So you can be on vacation and your salon is still making money. That's leverage. And that's the thing we really have to understand is that when you have a business, you want to work hard on your business so you can eventually work yourself out of the business. And now this puts you in a position to be able to go out and open up another salon in another state. You know, eventually if you want the franchise, you can. So I think just you taking that initial step has opened up so many doors for you. You know, and like I always tell you, know, I'm extremely proud of you because I've seen your growth, not even just from a business standpoint, but even just a level of maturity. You know, once you become a business owner, like you gotta walk and talk a little bit differently.
Oh yeah.
You know, so
absolutely.
Definitely. So how has this transition been? And now, you know, you talked about you having a daughter. How have you guys dialogue been in educating her about credit now so that she doesn't make the same mistakes growing up?
Well, I think we're having early talks to where it wasn't introduced to us growing up. So now she's aware of it. You know, like, Maya, if you don't pay your bills and you're not going to be able to get a car. Well, now she's talking to me about cars. Well, you going to be able to pay your own car? You know, your car note? But what I am seeing is, I think her looking at me and seeing me get up every day and me talking about all the things that I'm going through opening a business, now she's trying to open her own. She's actually creating her own lip gloss line, and now she's like, Mom, okay, so I got a website now, and she's talking to me about it. And now she's, me and her having those conversations, that entrepreneur seed is being put into her. And now she has her own name for her lip gloss and stuff. So I'm like, okay, like this is good. This is what we need to be doing.
Right.
You know, to be successful in life and just break these curses that we have.
Right. And I think that's so dope because now you have something you can pass on to your family lineage. I mean, essentially you've changed your entire family trajectory.
Yes, absolutely.
Just from making a decision of wanting to educate yourself better from a standpoint of credit. going out on a limb, starting your own business? Because I mean, you could have been very comfortable. I mean, you're an engineer, so you could have just said, you know what, I'm gonna just sit back, be comfortable. But then I feel that when we don't go out and create these lanes for our family, I think we're being a bit selfish to our loved ones that are coming up behind us, because now what are we truly leaving them? We're not passing on that legacy, or we're not even building a legacy. We're not making our last name the you're not becoming the CEO of your last name or your family. And so I think that's probably one of the best, transitions of being able to grow into an entrepreneur, is just passing that seed down to your daughter, and now seeing her being actively, interested. But more importantly, she's not gonna have to struggle wondering, how am I gonna open my business? Because she's already positioning herself from a credit standpoint to where at the age of 18, she can go out there and start her business. So if she needs product, she needs inventory, she wants to do a huge marketing campaign, a billboard, or whatever it is that she wants to be able to do, from a financial standpoint, she'll at least be in a position. So tell them about, just, the business itself. Like, what is your next goal for the business? What's your next goal here?
I want this to be, this is the first face pop. To me, I do want to branch out. I want to have other locations in other states as well. So this is just my baby. I'm just watering it. That's it. That's my vision, just to be better than average and stand out, and have everyone that comes here just remember Face Pop and just help us to grow big.
Okay. Now, one of the things, and I thought about this just as we were talking, knowing we were already friends and we already had, mutual friends, and like I said, you were one of my wife's best friends, you still wanted me to charge you for whatever services that I offered you for. And that's the thing that, like, I appreciate about, the people that I have in my corner and on my team, is that you never wanted anything for free. And I think that's so important, is that, I'm willing to pay for great value of a service. People buy luxury vehicles because supposedly the reliability of it. I was just talking with, my assistant about craftsmanships of nice, watches and timepieces. People will pay more for great quality. And just the fact that you saw the value in what we offered, to say, no, send me that invoice. And I think that's just having that type of, mindset, that karma comes back to you tenfold as now you're building your business, because, you'll be able to get your value and your worth because you already put that out there. And I think that's real dope too as well.
I think it's super important, especially us as Black people, to start supporting one another.
Absolutely.
Every other community, they support each other, and that's how they build wealth.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And it's not just about one person. I think it's about us as a community building our wealth and building our businesses. And just me being a business owner, I look at it so much more different. Like, it's important for me to support other people because I know what they're going through.
Right. You tip different too, don't you know?
I've always been a good tipper, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because now you understand, even people who work on a commission base or a tip base, you like, man, I know they grinding. I want to make sure that, I'm not shortchanging them, so you do tip differently, definitely.
I was reading something. You have to pay for your own insurance. You have to pay for everything.
Insurance is brutally high.
Everything.
I don't even want to say what we pay. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that as an entrepreneur, you don't know when your last dollar is going to come in. So you have to protect the integrity of your household. Like I always share with my coaching clients, as they're building their business and becoming entrepreneurs, you have to charge for everything. Unfortunately, because if they're not willing to pay for your services, now they're taking food off your family's plate. So as entrepreneurs, we can't be scared to say, okay, if my service is $100 an hour, that's what my fee is. And I'm speaking in relation to what you guys do. I'm not sure what the fee would be, but if that's what the quality of your work and your demand is, then that's what you can charge. I always tell people, whatever your fee is, or your product or service fee is a direct reflection of your value in the marketplace. So if your value is $200, if somebody is paying you, obviously it's worth it. And so as entrepreneurs, as black people, as a culture and a community, if that's where her fee is, we got to come out and we got to support her and not get upset, because obviously somebody is paying that to you because you've shown that it's of value. And so with that being said, you know, one of the things that I just want to talk about, what time is it, King Daniel? 5:30. All right, we'll open it up for some Q&A here shortly. But just understanding that, you know, so when we first started this FICO Friday, it was more so driven just to talk about, you know, easy funding, or credit to cash, formerly known as easy funding. And, you know, but as we kind of grew the platform of this live, you know, I really just wanted to be all around about business and entrepreneurship, about life, about credit, everything that's relevant that, you know, we all deal with and go through, and the challenges and pitfalls. I want to try to share, you know, you guys, that everything in business is not, you know, peaches and cream. You know, we just see the finished product. We don't see the sleepless nights, the loss of friends, the missed birthday parties, the missed anniversaries, the missed graduations. Like, as an entrepreneur, you will have to sacrifice things. You know, as an entrepreneur, you will lose sleep. As an entrepreneur, there will be days where you will not make a dime, but because you're just so passionate about what it is that you want to offer to the world, that's how you develop and build your value. And then not only that, working on yourself. I think that's a big missing component with a lot of us who, you know, get into entrepreneurship. We want to just go and we're thinking about it for the money, but understand that, you know, if you're working on yourself, the money will come. And you want to work harder on yourself than you do on your business. You know, as they say, if you have 4 hours to chop down a tree, you want to spend 3 hours sharpening your axe. And so, you know, just all these different things, which has helped not only my business grow, you know, my friends and family, King Paul, you know, my wife's nonprofit, who's actually, I want to shout her out, who's getting a very prestigious award at an event that's coming up 21st of the month at a MLK event. So definitely I'm proud of her for that. But just seeing like everybody around me just leveling up, you know, from a business standpoint, everybody is feeding their families and just taking care of all their loved ones. And I think it's dope. But it all starts with, you know, one, our mindset, and two, who do you have around you? You know, I always say your network determines your net worth. How important has your circle been for you when trying to grow your business? Did you have to get rid of some people, or
absolutely,
you know, did you lose some friends?
And it's sad because like they don't understand. You know, you want to have those conversations about credit or what should I do with this, and then you can't have those conversations with people that are in a position where they're not ready to grow. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I still keep in contact with my friends that are doing other things, but right now I just need to be in a nourishing environment that's, I'm gonna water the people around me and they're gonna water me as far as where my goals are. So that's how it's changed for me.
Right.
And hopefully if they're real friends, they understand what you got going on.
Absolutely.
And I catch you when I catch you. We'll see each other.
Right. I say we meet at the barbecue. But when it comes to business, we gotta press on.
Right.
Definitely. So we'll open it up for some Q&A, and then we'll talk about the easy funding credit to cash promos that we have here. So we got King Daniel.
What funding sources were helpful for you?
Funding sources. Do you want me to give away? I don't want to
Can't give her
tell.
all the secrets. But just know she went through credit to cash before it was even credit to cash.
Yeah.
You know, like I say, she was actually one of our very first clients. I think you were actually one of my test clients a few years back. But yeah, she went through the entire process. If you want to talk about, did you feel the process was simple? Was it hard? What was that?
It was actually really smooth, just because I think you reach certain levels in your credit, and then that's when you go to them, when you have them to coach, that'll say, you know what, now's the time that you need to go do this or apply for this, or, you know, go get your LLC. Depending on whatever goals you have, just having them to coach you along to do the right steps at the right time. You definitely don't want to drop your credit score to go apply for something if you're not ready for it, and then, you know, you got an inquiry on your credit and then you didn't get approved, so you're going against the grain. So
Absolutely.
but yeah, Get with them.
I have bad credit. How do I increase my score?
You got to contact us. So definitely one of the things to increase your score is making sure, first, understanding where you're at from a credit standpoint, and then getting with a professional. Hopefully you've purchased my book, Credit is King, give you some guidance, and then, just going from there, and then having a plan. Like one of the things Yalanda said, what made her process so easy is because she had a plan in place. And so that's where I would say we'll start. Oh, before we get out, Paul, you gotta make sure you get a people shout out, man. You was a big part of this whole process.
What's up, IG? Congratulations to Yalanda on her brand new shop. Making big boss moves.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Definitely. So it's all family, all love here, people.
He's very anal too, but he will get you. If you have the patience, he will get you exactly where you need to be.
How much is credit repair?
Honestly, I don't keep up with the prices. I would just say send us a direct message and we'll have the team reach out to you. But I can tell you that even if it was $2,000, which is not, I always tell people that it's definitely worth it because, just understanding, Yalanda talking about credit changed her entire scenario. Coming from bankruptcy, she never would have thought she would have been in this position this fast. So no matter what it costs, and I tell people that, you want to look at the value. We don't always want to do things based off of the cost.
Especially we got Jordans on.
Yeah, especially. When people tell me, hey, can you give me a discount? I always go to their page. And then I see they usually have a picture popping the bottom. They showing a picture of a belt. Then I'm like, no, you ain't getting no discount.
Right.
Like you wearing your credit repair on your waistline.
Did you build first with net 30s? If so, how long before you moved to a Baldon business credit?
Yes.
I'll let you answer that.
So pretty much we handle most of the stuff for Yalanda, so she can go out and be great and do what she do. The net 30s, like I tell people, it's really not relevant. Those are some of the things that she didn't have to necessarily do because this is the thing, like I tell everybody, most banks don't pull a DMB report. So I always share with people, don't spend a bunch of money doing these net 30s trying to get a 80 paydex. It helps. Now, it's going to benefit her from a standpoint where some of the supplies she'll be able to purchase for her salon, that she'll be able to get an account with them. But on a grand scheme of things, net 30s didn't do anything because less than 10% of banks pull a DMB report from an approval standpoint. Excuse me. But when they do pull your DMB report, they're only pulling it just to see if your business is a legitimate company. So don't go out there and waste a bunch of money on net 30s and spending and all of that. Now, it's a vital step, but it's not the main and most important step. And I'm actually going to be doing a webinar talking about the truths of business credit. So definitely be on the lookout for that, and I'll be doing that within the next 60 days.
If I were to go through easy funding and file bankruptcy, would I be able to go through easy funding again?
You can, but I would want to know why you would even have that mindset. Hopefully you're getting coached, and whatnot. But if that was the case, yes, bankruptcy is not the end of the road. I mean, we have a living testimonial right here, so you would definitely be able to reposition, or hopefully you're putting your team in position, so if that was the case, you already got somebody else next up in line.
I already have a business, but I'm having trouble coming up with money to get the product. What's the best way to get the product?
I'll let you answer that.
I mean, like I said before, there's a lot of products that you probably don't know about. A lot of banks that work with small businesses. So if you have your LLC, you definitely want to get with Will and Paul to talk about some of the options you have to get some funding.
Can the lender still see the items that was removed from the credit?
If you go through, so I'll put it like this. There's a method of credit repair that people have paid for doing credit sweeps. Generally, a credit sweep is where they'll suppress your credit information temporarily. Every single person I've ever known that went through that usually has had the items pop back on their report. So if you go through something like that, yes, they will be able to see that information, because all the credit bureaus did was suppress it. So you definitely want to be careful. I mean, Yalanda, has anything popped back up, or have they seen anything since you went through the process?
Actually, a long time ago, I went through a credit repair agency. And that's kind of why I really didn't want to deal with anybody, and I trusted you.
Right.
But it was one of those things where some of the stuff fell off and then some didn't and reappeared. But I've never, ever had anything pop up on my credit with these guys.
What determines the amount of funding that I can receive from my business?
It's going to be based on a couple different things. The age of your personal credit file, the age of your company is not the most relevant, but it definitely could help, because banks do offer business lines of credit, which most of them want you to be at least 2 years old. And then of course your personal credit, but more so your personal credit profile. That's why you want to get with a professional, because we're going to be able to guide you through the entire process and let you know exactly what your profile needs to look like from an underwriting standpoint. And then also understanding that banks change their lending guidelines. What may have worked 3 years ago doesn't work today. And even just understanding, for those who may not know, one of the banks who's changing their lending guidelines is Navy Federal. Navy Federal used to be a very liberal bank to be able to get access to some capital, but now they're going to require you to provide certain documents and make sure that your profile is in a better position. And then the ultra FICO score potentially being a major component this year. So if your personal credit is not in position, and I'm going to say this very plainly and blunt, if your personal credit is not in position, you will not ever get business credit. I don't care what those pundits or credit gurus out there tell you, get business credit without using your social and this, that, and the third. That doesn't exist. So understand, invest a little bit of time, invest a little bit of money, and get your personal credit cleaned up. But overall, just to answer your question, it's going to be based on a couple different things, but your personal credit profile being the most important.
Does original creditor debt come off credit report?
Say that again?
Does original creditor debt come off with credit report?
So if you have a debt that was with an original creditor and it gets sold to the collection agency, usually the old account could still appear. So the way our dispute process works is we dispute everything that's derogatory, that's impacting the profile negatively. So if that was ever a scenario, then yes. But most of the time, once it goes to collections, the original creditor usually is not on the report, just the collection agency.
Is your business debt showing up on your personal file?
No. Well, actually, it just really depends on what I use. I try and keep most of my debt on my business lines of credit, but some things I do buy on my personal credit cards, and of course, if it is over 30%, it's gonna impact my credit score. So I try not to.
Right, and even just to piggyback off that, one of the things that I see a lot, people always say, hey, well, I don't want my business credit to show up on my personal, and I get why a lot of people would like that. But understand, if you're a new business, you may not have as much business credit, because I know when we first started your process, you had more personal credit first. And as your file got more matured in age, then we were able to go after more business lines. So understanding, and this is what I tell all my new entrepreneurs as you're getting into this process, I don't care if the money is personal or business. It's all bank money to me. But because I have a goal
right
at the end of it, I don't care.
And I'm not worried about my credit right now, because I've got everything that I need right now. And I know it's going to take a little ding while I just started my business, but ultimately it's going to go back up. I know how to get it back up. I know who to go to get it back up.
And that's the thing we got to really start sharing with people. Okay, things happen.
Mm-hmm.
If worst case scenario, something happened, you can claim asset protection again, but now understanding you know how to come out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or we know your sister is already in a position with her 800 credit score. So
I'm gonna leverage her credit.
right. So we can leverage her sister Yvonne credit and knowing that the shop is still running, that's afloat. So as business owners and entrepreneurs, we got to stop being so like, but I'll see people go out there, they'll leverage their credit for a car that they can't afford and get a repossession, but we too worried about business credit. And I'd rather leverage my credit and go out trying to live my dreams as a business owner, and potentially if something happens, I'm fine with that because I at least tried. But because I have a goal and a plan, I got my wife's credit in position, our daughter is coming up, I got 4 other credit investors, Paul gonna have good credit. So because we have a plan in place, those are the last things I'm worried about, and I'm pretty sure that's what I'm hearing from you as
Absolutely.
well too. Yeah,
I have resources around me.
definitely.
Does it matter how long my business has been running to get a loan?
Not at all. We've helped people who literally the ink dried on their LLC paperwork. I think one of our clients who, her LLC was about 7 days old, and she was able to get about $70-something thousand. So it really doesn't matter, no matter what the age of the company is. It's more about the formation of your company and making sure that it's structured and set up properly.
Are you taking new clients?
We always take in new clients, definitely.
How long does it take to establish business credit?
That's such an open-end question because it really depends on where you are right now. I mean, we started working with Yalanda, 4 years ago? And so just understanding that everybody has a different journey. And the thing that, I always try to share with people, we have to start comparing someone else's chapter 10 to our chapter 1. We're always comparing, oh man, they're so much further than where I am, but we don't know what they've been through to get to where they are. I tell people all the time, this is a 15-year journey for me. This just didn't happen. From being homeless to getting fired on a job and moving out here, I had $500 to my name. I mean, so we've all had stories to, you filed bankruptcy and, you had telephones in your name at the age of 3 and just all these different, things that we had. But it's about just understanding that as long as you know what your end goal is, it's worth the time going through that process.
Right.
And we just need to start appreciating the journey more than the actual end result.
And I'd say, of those 4 years, 2.5, 3 was spent on me just developing my personal credit. I didn't have a goal for my business. I got business funding within the past year. That's when I started really focusing on actually opening my business. So it wasn't a long journey of me trying to start a business. It was a long journey of me first getting my personal credit fixed first.
Absolutely.
Should all debt be paid or settled to increase exposure?
Good question. So I'm one of the believer that you should at least challenge the information. And the reason I say that is because when the debt goes to a collection agency, if they're reporting the information inaccurately, yes, you want to challenge that. And when I say inaccurately, not stating that it's not your debt, but from a standpoint that if they're not reporting that dollar amount accurately down to the penny, they have to remove it. So now, yes, paying it off, that's completely fine. And I'll leave that up to the individual. But understand from a credit standpoint, it doesn't help your score. So I always recommend you challenge it, even if you are going to pay it. And if you do decide to say, you know what, morally, I don't want to dispute it, I want to pay it. From a credit standpoint, if you do pay it, make sure you pay it in full, and you want to request a deletion letter, so that way when you do pay it off, you want to have them remove that off your credit report.
What's the minimum amount of cash or credit received?
I mean, I've had clients that only got $7,000, but they understood that was still a win because it's $7,000 more that they used for their business that they didn't have previously. But more importantly, understanding that this isn't a microwave process. And that's the other thing I think we get so caught up in is that, I was sharing this analogy, the other day. We go to a fast food restaurant, we mad at the food not ready in 2 minutes, and so just understanding that it could be a process for some people. And you take care of that 7,000, now that 7 turns into 14. That 14 turns into 28. and so forth and so on. So yeah, we have had people that gotten as little as 75, but I can tell you, even the clients who've gotten that amount have been extremely grateful because they understood now they have learned something new that they can never unlearn. And all they have to do is go out there, take care of the credit that they had, that they've gotten, and then be able to go out there and multiply that over time. How much time we got, Ken? Okay.
Any events on the West Coast area coming in the first quarter this year?
We are working on a couple things, so definitely just be on the lookout, stay in tune with the lives and the calendar and all of that.
Should I purchase my own home for real estate investing?
Very good question. You can purchase a property that can be used as an investment property if you buy a multifamily. So it's different strategies, of course, depending on where you live. I mean, like out here in Nevada and Las Vegas, very few multifamilies. So it would be challenging for us to try to utilize that strategy. But if you live in an area where you could sacrifice living in a 4-family, I have a client right now going through that. They just closed on a 4-family. They're living in 1 unit, renting out the other 3. They're making money with the home that they live in. So it really just depends on your situation and strategy.
How many rounds will it take to sell and clean up a person's credit?
It really depends. We just had a client today who got her first round of results, and her file is in position. It's already clean. And then we have some files that may take longer than others, because keep in mind, every creditor is different. You know, there's actually a list within the credit industry of the top most difficult creditors to deal with. You have companies like Capital One. They will sue you for a $100 debt. So just understanding every single credit file is different, depends on how old the debt is. But one of the things I always share with the client, we don't care what you owe, because we have a method or a strategy to be able to dispute no matter what type of account it is.
Will you eventually start doing unsecured lines of credit?
That's what we do. Everything we do is unsecured.
I have charge-offs. Should I pay them anyway?
That would be a moral question to yourself. We do dispute charge-offs. Understand, when a company charges off a debt, usually that means they wrote it off on their taxes, so they made their money. They're just trying to, double dip, which, you owe them, so they can't do that. But also understanding that you can dispute charge-offs.
Is 30% use of credit cards the best option for building a line of credit?
I'm not understanding that full question. 30%, going over 30% impacts your credit. So yeah, if you're over 30%, paying that down to get at 30% or below definitely does help your score.
Can I get rid of the student loan without paying?
No, Sally Mae will chase you to the grave. Now you can dispute it off a report if the information is being reported inaccurately, but student loans can stay with you. Now there are some situations where they can forgive it. One is if you have a medical condition, you have to get paperwork from your actual physician. 2, if you are a government employee, generally after 120 months of payments, they can forgive it. If you work with a nonprofit for so many years, they can actually forgive your student loan debt. I think even in the education field. So there are several fields where they can forgive it after so many years, but you still have to make payments for it to qualify towards that time.
Can I get business credit if I don't have personal credit?
No. Your personal credit has to be in position regardless of what those other gurus and pundits tell you.
My bank told me to open a 12-month CD and get a credit card. Do you think that's a good move?
I can tell you that that's a move for them to get a new account open. As far as depending on where your profile is at, I can also tell you that it doesn't help you from a credit standpoint, because that CD, some banks report it as an installment account, and if you do have other installments that are in good payment, history, that have good payment history, opening another installment does not help you. It's just like when they say, come and buy this car and rebuild your credit. That does not help build your credit score. the fastest way when adding new credit that helps you build your score is getting revolving credit, not installment accounts.
And going into business, what was your determining factor? Like you said, it's not a microwave process. How'd you stay focused?
I'm gonna let you answer that first. What was your process?
I think, like I said, just having the passion, something that you want to wake up every morning and go hard for, and just knowing that I'm dispensable with my company. I'm a contractor, so I've been through a lot of different companies, and it literally just takes a phone call to say, you know, hey, you don't have any more work, we're laying you off. And I just don't like my future being in the hands of a company, knowing that, you know, I may not have a job tomorrow. So I know it's time for me to build my own wealth.
Right. I know for me, one of the things that opened my eyes, I can remember in 2008, having a death in the family. I was living out here in Las Vegas. The funeral was in Mississippi, and I literally had to beg for the time off to go to my grandmother's funeral. I told myself, I don't ever want to be in that position again, to where I have to get permission, and then initially they denied my request to be able to go to the funeral. So one of the things that kept me driven is the fact that I never wanted to be at the helm of somebody else's thumb. Somebody be able to tell me I can't take a day off. My child's graduation could be in the middle of the week. If it were too many people with more seniority than me, I couldn't take it off. So just understanding, not necessarily time freedom, but freedom to be able to do the things that I need to be able to do, because understand, life happens. And then of course, you know, the financial goals and all of that, but the biggest thing is that the reason I got into credit was to be able to help other people, especially within our community. So that's what's been keeping my passion going in my drive, is I wanted to be able to serve as many people with this information as possible.
How fast can you get inquiries taken down from shopping for a house?
Our process is usually about 30 to 45 days, because the the bureaus usually are slow this time of the year. Worst case scenario, it could take as many as 60, but I always tell people I'd rather it be 60 days than 25 months, because they'll sit there if you do nothing about them. How much time we got left, Ken? 3 minutes? All right, we'll take 2 more questions.
What's the point of leaving a small balance on your credit card?
Say that again?
What's the point of leaving a small balance on your credit card?
That's the trick that the credit card companies have told us you got to do. They say make small payments. Now, if you have a blank credit file, yes, building payment history is good, but they want you to leave those small balances because they make money off what? The interest. So if you have the money to pay it off, just pay it off.
If I have a car repo over 20,000 owed, can I still get a decent amount of business credit?
If that car is still on your report, no. Because you got to think about it like this, from an investment standpoint, a business standpoint. A bank is going to say, okay, if you didn't pay your credit one $300 credit card balance on time, why would we give you $30,000? And so understand, that's why your personal credit has to be in position, because every single bank is going to ask you for a personal guarantor. Every single bank. So that's today's FICO Friday. I hope you guys have learned something. You want to go ahead and leave them with some last words and something profound?
I say if you're thinking about fixing your credit, your personal or business, do it now. Do not wait. And definitely if you're in Vegas, come check out Face Pop. We are excited. Come on and check us out on the Las Vegas Strip.
You guys do women and men.
We
right?
do men too.
Okay.
You guys, I know some of you guys don't have hair. We can hook it up. It doesn't have to look feminine. But yeah, come check us out.
Right, definitely. So family, we appreciate you guys. Also, like I mentioned, today until the 13th, which I think is Monday, we are offering 40% discount off of Easy Funding. No promo code needed. Go to useeasyfunding.com. Once you get to the checkout cart, you will see the discounted rate. And like one of the things I always tell people, people always say, how much is the Easy Funding, this, that, and the third? Look, if it costs me $5,000 to get $50,000, I'm willing to do it. So we just got to understand that it's all about the value and not necessarily the dollar amount. Cut off? All right, so we still got time on Mr. Will Roundtree page. Make sure you guys are liking, sharing this video. I appreciate all y'all. Make sure you go out and continue to support black-owned businesses. We go support each other, and understanding that bankruptcy is not the end of the road. We still got time, family. All right, peace.